learners, since previously we have been looking at reception, response, and coordination in plants, today we want to look at the same in animals. Irritability in animals is brought about by the nervous system. In arthropods or insects, the nervous system consists of the peripheral nerves, which is a ventral cord. In the head, the nerves form the cerebral ganglia, which acts as the brain. Insects also possess sense organs like the eyes, antenna, and halteres for detecting stimuli. In higher animals like you and me, irritability is brought about by the nervous system, which is also called the neurosensory system, and the endocrine system, also called the hormonal system. The nervous system provides the fastest means of communication. Let us go ahead and discuss the components of the mammalian sensory system. It contains the central nervous system, which has the brain and the spinal cord. It also has the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of the sensory and the motor nerves. Let us look at the neuron, which is the basic functional unit of the nervous system, and it is also called a nerve cell. Its role is to transport impulses, and an impulse is an electrical signal transported along a nerve fiber. It is an information which is being transported. This is a nerve fiber or a nerve cell. It contains parts like dendrites, which look like fingers. It also has a cell body and a nucleus inside. And then from the cell body is a projection called the axon. And outside the axon is the myelin sheath and Schwann cell. And there are constrictions or foldings along the myelin sheath, which are called nodes of Ranvier. Let us now look at the functions of each part of neuron. First, there is a cell body, which is also called a centron, and it contains a nucleus and a cytoplasm. Its role is manufacture of proteins. The other part which projects from the cell body is the axon, and they are large processes that transmit impulses away from the cell body. We have dendrites, which are short branched projections extending from the cell body, and it relays or transports impulse across adjacent neurons or the next neurons, the following neurons. The myelin sheath covers the axon, and it speeds up transmission of impulses. The other one is the Schwann cells, and it forms the myelin sheath and aid in nutrition and regrowth of the axon. Finally, we have the node of Ranvier, which are foldings between the Schwann cells at regions where the axon is not covered. Its role is to speed up transmission of nerve impulse. So note the spelling of a node of Ranvier: myelin sheath and then Schwann cells, double N. Neurons are described as either unipolar, bipolar, or multipolar. Bipolar neurons are rare, and they are sensory neurons found in the olfactory retina of the eye and the ganglia of the vestibulocochlear nerve. This is a bipolar neuron. Unipolar neurons are sensory neurons with the cell bodies located in the spinal and cranial nerves. They are also called pseudopolar because originally they come as bipolar neurons, and then after that they become unipolar neuron. So they come as bipolar and then develop into unipolar neurons. The other one is multipolar neurons, and they are the most common type of neurons. They are found in the central nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord. They have two processes coming from the cell body. So the more than two processes, we have all these other processes. So that is one way of describing neurons according to the number of dendrites that project from the cell body. The other way is according to the direction of impulse conduction. We have sensory neurons, we have motor neurons, we have relay neurons. Let us first begin with sensory neuron. This one connects sense organs like the ear, the eye, skin, nose, and the tongue with the central nervous system. The cell body is located away from the axon and outside the central nervous system. The receptor dendrites, or those dendrites that receive impulses, are located in the sense organs, these ones, while the terminal, those at the end, those dendrites at the end are found in the central nervous system. The role of sensory neuron is to transport impulse from the sense organs to the central nervous system. So the cell body is located away from the axon. So we have receptor dendrites which are located in the sense organs. That is why sensory neuron transports information from the sense organs all the way to the central nervous system. The other one is the motor neuron. This one connects the central nervous system with the effectors like the muscle fibers and the glands. The cell body is at one end of the axon in the central nervous system, and then it transports information from the central nervous system to the effectors. These are motor neuron. We have the cell body here at one end of the axon, so it will transport information from the central nervous system. This information has been received by the receptors, which contains the sensory neuron, and then that information from the sensory neuron is taken to the central nervous system. From there, motor neuron collects the information to the effector organs. For example, when you touch a hot pan, the receptors or the sense organs, like the sensory organs in the skin, will receive that change, and then the sensory neuron will transport that change to the central nervous system. From there, you will drop that pan. So that is the function of the effectors, making you to abandon the hot pan. The other one is a relay neuron, and this one is found between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron, and it links these two through small gaps called synapses, and it can be either multipolar or bipolar. It is found in the central nervous system. Relay neuron does not have a myelin sheath. It is said to be non-myelinated. Therefore, it relays nerve impulses between sensory and motor neuron. That is why sometimes it is also called connector neuron. So it can be either bipolar or multipolar because there are number of dendrites from the cell body. Though this is a motor neuron there, we have a sensory neuron here. The cell body is of the axon at one end, and then we have a relay neuron. So this is how it works. We have receptor dendrites on the skin or on the sensory organ, and then it is transmitted through the sensory neuron, then to the motor neuron through a relay neuron, through small gaps called synapses. So that is the direction of the nerve impulse or information. We are done with the neurons. Attempt this assignment, and you can even discuss with your friends. And for any difficult, you can just go through your notes. You will have the answers for these questions. Goodbye, and see you in our next lesson.